Hello, everybody. Sorry. So, hi, thanks for being here. I'm Tao. I'm an engineer in Montpellier, and I'm going to talk to you about virtual microscopy, which is a project in which we try to help biologists take their data from the microscope to virtual reality. So, the context of this project is nowadays we have a lot of multidimensional images. We can have 3D, 3D plus time, multi-channel data. Generally, it tends to be pretty dense in information, and we have large amounts of these images. And so we need tools to view, analyze, and interact with this data. Sometimes just looking at the image stack is not enough. And for instance, when you have a lot of questions, you can answer them with these tools. So for this reason, the platform Morphonet was created. So it's an interactive morphodynamic browser and application in which you can view 3D images with the duality of, instead of just viewing stacks of images, you see meshes that have been created from these images, since it's a lighter and easier to interact with data structure to be able to manipulate it. And so it's also a data manager in which we try to have a fair philosophy with data. But the thing is, even working on Morphonet, we realized that through conventional methods of observation, there has some limitations. Because as I told you, we are looking at 3D or 4D data, but we are looking at this data on a 2D computer screen. So we have to make a sort of compromise, we have to make a projection, and it's kind of hard to see all these dimensions of your data. So the question is, what about virtual reality? Contrary to a 2D computer screen, it allows you to see things in a three-dimensional space in which you can walk, look around, and interact with data differently. And as equipment is getting more and more accessible, we figured out, well, what about porting Morphonet onto a virtual reality system? So what I'm going to show you is based mostly on the work of Gwendal and Kevin Fournier. And so the aim of this project was not to directly answer the question, virtual reality is going to do X or Y for biologists, but mostly to provide a easy-to-use, user-friendly, and quick access to virtual reality for biologists so they can kind of answer these questions themselves. And it has to be as generic as possible so you can work on any type of data. So the idea was to just take Morphonet, make it a complete standalone application, and implement most of its key features, onto a virtual reality interface. But since we're in a VR world with more dimensions, we can experiment with new methods of data visualization. For instance, on regular Morphonet, you can only see one type step at a time, and though your data is in 3D, it's a 2D projection. Here you can see data both in 3 dimensions, so you can look around, move, walk, but you can also have the times in ways that are hard to represent on a 2D screen. Like for instance, here we represent it in a helicoid view around the user. So you can kind of see and view the development of your embryo. You can have it in a circular way or other methods. So we also have interesting way to visualize raw images, intensity images. So it can be a kind of cube on which you can have stacks, you can move around, you can also visualize it in a complete cube that you can cut along any kind of plane and not only be limited by X, Y, or Z. And so we try to experiment with these methods of visualization and see what they can offer us. And not only that, but we can also have methods of interaction that, even though we're used to it with mouse and keyboard, it's kind of limiting, and now you can kind of use your hands to move the data around, make it bigger, smaller, rotate it, scatter it to be able to see the inside and really move your head in a method of visualization that you can't really have on a regular screen, and kind of try to see the data differently in a different angle. And so with this, we have a couple of ideas for the future. For instance, we have a small plugin in which you can manually deform your segmented images. using the mesh as a method of interaction. And as you can see here, it's how it works right now on a computer. It's a bit awkward because you have to move around, use the mouse. It's not really precise. And we want to you know, capitalize on the virtual reality to be able to really move the cell with your hands, be able to do things and interact in ways that you couldn't really do previously. And of course, even though it's done on the mesh, it's retro-propagated on your image, because what interests you at the end of the day is the image, not the mesh. And so as with this, as the project is part of a tech transfer of France-BioImaging, we'll continue to develop and upgrade the tools with the community needs. And we'll be able to do user support in France-BioImaging nodes as a workshop, kind of like they do in Mifobio. And so, for instance, we'll do that in FBI facilities and also some external. So if you have any questions or if you want to discuss about this, don't hesitate to call us, to send us a mail. And yeah, that's about it. I'd like to thank everybody that worked on the Morphonet platform, and thank you for your attention.